And huge news for a lot of people, especially in the Asian community.
Really?
The Supreme Court has turned over affirmative action to
What?
universities.
Oh, it's only for universities.
Well, as a practice for bringing in students.
Oh, the universities are over. All of them will be filled 100% Asians.
Yup.
Yeah.
Good
That's
luck.
it. See you
I don't-
later.
I don't even know where affirmative action is actually like used. Outside of universities, like are companies or like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Oh, like hiring for
Yeah,
corporations?
I've heard of it, but I always like heard of it in the context of school admissions. Never like in like Walmart has a quota or whatever. I don't know.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy though is like when you look at the two sides to this, like communities that want it and then ones that don't, it feels so weird. It's really hard to.
What are the two main sides?
Because like if you go to like Diet Prada or like one of those like kind of like more liberal pages, it feels like that's an attack on black people 100%. And then you go to like Asian side and they're like cheering for it because they're like, great, now my kid who scored higher than other races can now get into the colleges.
I think it's so difficult to create policy that can affect millions of people because our lives are so different. For example, right, like I've seen the positive effects of affirmative action working in inner cities because like, let's say, you know, you have a higher chance growing up in a broke neighborhood to get to a point where maybe you'll become a doctor or something and then you'll go back to, and service your communities and stuff like that. And even me, I'm kind of a product of, I have all the recipes of failing and then I got financial aid, I got, you know, all the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances to finally get a college degree and then like, you know, change my life around. So like there's all these, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say where like.
But you didn't go to Harvard with a 2.5.
I didn't, no.
So that's like, because that's like
more about that.
That's true affirmative action working. Like when I was in college and I was trying to go to med school, and I would hear like I would go to all these like kind of bridge style programs, do summer internships and stuff at UCLA. And as I went down the line and asked like, okay, what does your package look like? Because everyone has grades, MCAT, extracurriculars or whatever. And then I would hear a ton of Asians with like super high GPA getting into middle tier schools. And then I would see a bunch of other ethnicities with even like maybe even subpar get into some of the top schools. And then so I felt bad just for the people that worked crazy hard and they just straight up get rejected. And I'm like, holy shit.
And then what does that teach? Like the kids, oh, hard work doesn't pay off?
I read this other thing too about how it doesn't set up the inner city kids for success because, like, for example, right, like they get passed through the system and then when they get to the top where you're in an Ivy League or whatever, and then they're not prepared to do the workload because they're not used to it. And then so the failure rate is extremely high because
The dropout rate. Yeah.
instead of being prepped for that high level of like AP classes and all that. So once they get into the classroom, they're like, what the fuck, dude? This is crazy. I am not ready for this level of like work.
Yeah, training for Ivy League is an unnatural amount of prep. Like no normal human being coincidentally ends up with that much. Yeah.
5 years old.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's like the lifestyle of prepping, like Asian kids prepping for high education. You sacrifice almost everything else.
Yeah, your childhood, pretty much everything.
I feel like there was a time when this was probably a good like equalizer. So for example, right, let's say integration just happened and whatever, you know, because it was segregated or whatever, like the disparity in education was crazy and maybe they had some like hardcore like highly like academic achieving groups within like the black community or whatever, right? But they didn't have the opportunity. But now like they have a chance to get into the Ivy Leagues, which was like a super protected hardcore you know, kind of like a boys club. Now they could break through. Now they could come through. Whatever. Maybe like, I don't know, the 60s or whatever. Maybe it did work then, but I feel like it's been such a long time from that point that the original intention no longer applies. That could be a case too.
I think it's dope if they put money into the areas that need it, but don't lower the hoop for certain people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we need diversity, then
Why do you say lower the hoop?
what do you mean?
What do you say lower the hoop?
Yeah,
Because so Asians are required to dunk on like a 4.0 GPA hoop, and then some other races are like 3.0 or whatever.
Why not
Why
lower
is
the
it dumb?
Why not lower the tennis net?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Lower the tennis net.
Just fucking. No, yeah.
Because like one of the
Fucked up. Make the hole bigger.
Because I've also seen kind of like in a more philosophical page the way they talk about it, where it's like where they say like, isn't it like using the color of their skin to admit students, isn't that innately racist?
Yeah, that's the same
That's
thing
what
I
they're
thought.
saying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But then there's people using that exact same sentence
For this
in the opposite way. Yeah,
that it is
understand
that
Yeah.
you're racist.
Exactly.
For-
That's what I don't get.
Part of this, too, oh, go ahead.
The biggest winner of affirmative action was white women. Because being a woman, you're a minority, and then if you come from a lower income, but you apply for everything, you actually win the most.
If you're lower income, I think. But I think if you're just like a regular white lady, that's not like fucking
you're
like
not in
Ruth
that-
from Ozarks.
I don't know shit about fuck.
Yeah.
But statistically, they win the most.
So part of what colleges are saying that they're maybe going to look at doing to kind of just get around this is use the essays part of admissions to like have people basically talk about their experiences and their lived experiences so they can kind of discern like race maybe or
Yeah, because if they talk about doing homework in their parents' restaurants, they're like, Asian kid, fucking stop, don't bring them in.
there you go.
And if they talk about like growing up playing a lot of basketball, black kid, all right, let's
Well,
bring
now
them in.
you have a bunch of kids just making up stories on their essays.
Yeah. Now you're gonna have Asian kids trying to like make them think that he grew up like, you know, Hispanic or whatever.
My thought, I don't know if this is correct, so let me know please if I'm fucking missing the mark. But even though it's viewed that like affirmative action gives opportunities to black kids or white kids to go to good colleges, I always thought that affirmative action got manipulated by the Ivy Leagues so that they could not have all Asians. I don't know if that's even remotely close. But
Where it's like, so the public views it as, this helps underserved communities,
Yeah.
but from the institution's
From the
perspective,
institution
it's
side?
let's keep these chinks out of here.
Exactly, and that's honestly what I thought, because I don't think any Ivy League wants their image of their student body to be all Indians and Chinese guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
all the
also true
fucking-
too.
like the skulls and bones or whatever.
Because again, like
Patels and
Yeah.
fucking
Like,
leaves.
again, like we were saying, the prep to achieve at that level. If we're just talking scores, right? If it's just numbers, the prep, they are sacrificing their entire social life to just have those exact scores. So when they don't get it, they're like, what the
fuck do I
fuck?
do?
Because if you did just go by numbers and you didn't know what race they are, obviously you're gonna get shitload of Asians.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be me.
That's why
It's gonna be Asian,
they started saying like, well, you gotta have a well-rounded thing.
Yeah, and
all
they
these-
want that.
like socially, like you don't do anything else Asians. You just like, you have no personality Asians. You just fucking math smart.
And that's why there's that there's that likability clause.
Yeah.
Have you seen that in their admissions? There's there's a likability trait.
Yeah.
And it's like a
That's the hack.
undeterminable trait. It's like
No, it's
what
so
is it?
subjective.
Yeah. And that could be based on your community service. It could be based on things you've done extracurricularly.
You do a KEC stand for?
And I totally get that, like, if they would want a more diverse student body, they are going to get some pretty great community leaders in there if you mix it up. You're not just going to get these students that don't fucking talk to anybody and they just want to do their work the way they're robots up to that point. They're going to stay fucking robots. And you probably don't want a school like that. I get it. But then also, like, admit it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Don't lie.
Because
Don't lie
then that
to me.
opens up a portal to so many other questions.
Exactly.
perceptions, And we can't have that.
But I never saw university or like prestigious universities as a place of merit. I always saw it as a place of nepotism. Like, you got old school families that are connected. It's like heritage. It's like, man, we're all Yale peoples. You're gonna go to Yale too. You know, like.
Well, and they donate. Parents donate.
They put tons of money in.
And then their kids get in because of that.
Yeah. And it's really a networking thing, right? Because it's like future CEOs, future whatever. You're gonna go there. You're gonna rub shoulders.
Select few though, because they admit like 10,000 or 20,000 people a year. Like, I'm thinking maybe hundreds of people might have that.
Yeah.
But there's probably like
Possibly.
10,000 people that still probably try to get in through.
Apparently it's 70% white though. The ones who are going in through the endowments,
Yeah.
it's 70% white. But then some people say America is 70% white-ish. So isn't that just a thing?
That's what's crazy to me is that when you think of the number of, like, let's just do China, just China. When you think of the people in China that look at sending their kid abroad, or like growing up in America with that education and having a goal of getting into Ivy League, that's already a fucking lot of them. And then you take into account Asian American kids that are also on that same track. There's a shitload of those. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Kumans that are booming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is a goal already for just those in general. There's not enough spots for them.
But I thought, well, so I'm a bit confused because all of these universities, I feel like they market so hardcore to foreigners because they get the most money from foreigners.
Because there's like a premium that they have to pay, right?
They have to
They
pay.
go out of state or something
Yeah,
like that.
but not only that, they also like bring money to the community. Like, they'll build luxury apartments just for it being a China tower.
Got it.
For all the foreign kids that are gonna pay $5,000 a month for these luxury apartments, right? And on top of that, like, it boosts the economy of the area, the real estate, all that. So like, I've seen so much more, I guess, like marketing going toward foreign students. And that's, I've seen that outside of the US as well, like in the UK and Canada and all that.
But
So-
doesn't that hurt reputationally to have a Ivy League college, like the visual image be like hella Asians?
Probably.
They don't want that.
Yeah, because the ones that I've seen aren't Ivy League. They're like UCs. They're like, yeah. So like, Ivy League is probably just that heritage brand.
It would
Yeah.
be fascinating if like we could do like for 1 year we see who actually like got into college like
Yeah.
based on what they did.
Just the
Just
numbers.
to see.
Yeah.
Just to see the numbers, just to see the statistics actually.
Because when I think of Ivy League, I think of boat shoes, white kids from the East Coast that like goes to the Hamptons during summer with their
Martha's
family.
Vineyard
And I feel like
shit.
they want to preserve that, and
Yeah.
I think their way of doing that is to be like, oh no, look, now underprivileged kids don't have a chance now. And it's like, you guys are fucking shut up.
Definitely gatekeeping.
But
Yeah.
for the Asians that are getting the short end of the stick, it trickles all the way down.
Exactly.
So like, it's like regular, like a kid needs, like an Asian kid from Arcadia or whatever, needs Harvard grades to get into UCLA, and then needs UCLA grades to get into like UC Riverside.
Right.
And it's like so they have to like crazy overachieve, like almost be like fucking NASA genius just to be like an accountant or something.
Exactly.
You know who's actually benefiting the most though from the affirmative affirmative actions in the black community are the new African immigrants, because they're actually the #1 minority group that's getting into Ivy Leagues. They beat Asian
Oh wow.
because
So they don't even need it because they already come with like highly academic minded. I think
Yep.
because those groups, they're trying to target inner cities,
Yep.
not new immigrants.
yeah, but then they qualify because now they're African American on paper. So then they're taking the place of inner city blacks.
When it all gets filed and separated,
They don't-
they're in the same
yeah,
file.
they're like,
The
yeah.
hood stays the hood though.
Right.
So it's not really helping out like the poor communities and stuff like that, because you have highly educated immigrants coming into the States.
Right.
But then they're like, hey, we're gonna qualify now under the black category, versus like the inner city youth who's probably working like super hard to like try and get in or whatever. And then I think that's where it's kind of like, if it's just on race, then and you just need a quota per race, I think that's where people get screwed.
Yay, more problems we can't solve.